Здравствуйте.
Здравствуйте.
Вам презентацию видно?
Да.
Let's start our lecture. Number 9. The title is Environmental Factors for the Microorganism. We will talk about the relationship between microorganisms and the environment, and the classification of factors affecting microorganisms, the science of relationship of living organisms with the environment is called ecology, and the certain hypotheses of environment that affect organisms are called environmental factors. Some of these factors are necessary for the cell, some are harmful signs. They can cause the suspension of growth and the development of microorganisms. And with the intensive exposure to the adverse factors, the deaths of microorganisms can occur. In the next slide, environmental factors have different specific section, and depending on this, they can be divided into 3 groups, and they are abiotic factors of inanimate nature, and the biotic factors of wildlife, and the anthropogenic, all forms of human activities that lead to the change in nature as a habitat. And the external factors can also be divided depending on their nature. Physical, temperature, radiant energy, electromagnetic waves, and the physical and the chemical effects of humidity, osmotic pressure, and the chemical influence of pH, redox environment, chemical factors. And the next is the biological relationship between the microorganisms, effect of the antibiotics and the volatile products. The physical factors influencing the growth of microorganisms, it may be temperature, pH, osmotic pressure, hydrostatic pressure, and the radiation. And then we will talk about the influence of factors on microorganisms. It may be temperature is one of the main factors that determine the possibility and the intensity of the reproduction of microorganisms. And the microorganisms can give production their life activity in a certain and depending on the nature are divided into physical stages of the microorganisms, treatment temperature of the which extreme temperature is -10 maximum is the
Ой, сори.
for the
О, что? Мади бар, не істеймін, встречать еткен ба? Ақ тілектің түріне оқыттым. Шашын алып таза өтіп жоқтым.
necessary koyamız.
Иман не болса кішкене
Сади, біздің де фотомызды жіберші, Сади. Ілиясқа жіберші.
телефонды өшірейік.
Жібер, жібер. Звуктарын өсіршің.
Кім сөйлеп жатқан?
Ой,
Букаға қойыңыздаршы.
Микрофондарын өшіріп тастаңдаршы.
мама. Мама сөйлегенде ол.
Да, сен түсіріп жіберсең.
Әдемі фото жіберем.
Жіберемін. Айдана қара. Абайлықтан екі ойыншыда да қайшы? Түрің жауып салсын. Сол шейбон жоқ. Видео түсіп жатыр. Түр мен өтчем өтіп видео түсіп жатыр.
Камераның өзі айтып тұрған, ана фотоны жіберіп салды.
Effect of the high temperatures on microorganisms. Increasing the temperature above the maximum can lead to the cell death. And the death of the microorganisms occur not instantly, but in time, with a slight increase in temperature above the maximum. And the microorganisms can experience a heat shock and the aftershock stage in this state, and they can be reactivated. And the mechanism of the destructive effect of high temperatures is associated with the denaturation of cellular proteins. The denaturation temperature of proteins is affected by their water content. The less water in the protein, the higher the denaturation temperature. And the young vegetative cells rich in free water die when heated faster than old and the dehydrate ones. And the thermal stability, the ability of microorganisms to withstand prolonged heating at temperatures exceeding the temperatures maximum of their development. And the death of microorganisms occurs at different temperatures and depends on the type of microorganisms and when heated in a humid environment for 15 minutes at the temperature of from 50 to 60 degrees, most fungi and yeast die. At from the 60 to 70 degrees, vegetative cells of most bacteria, fungi, and yeast spores are destroyed at about 80 degrees. And the greatest thermal stability is processed by the vegetable cells of thermophils. About 100 degrees, and the bacterial spores about 120 degrees. And the next, like the effect of low temperatures on microorganisms. Microorganisms are more resistant to low temperatures than to high ones. And despite the fact that the reproduction and the biochemical activity of microorganisms at a temperature below the minimum stop, and the cell this does not occur because the microorganisms go into the state suspended animation and they remain viable for a long time. When the temperature increases, the cells begin to multiply invisibly. The causes of the death of microorganisms under the influence of low temperatures are maybe metabolic disorders, increased osmotic pressure of the medium to water freezing, ice crystals can form in the cells, destroying the cell's wall, and the low temperature is used when the storing food in the refrigerated state at the temperature of 10 to minus 2 degree and or in frozen from the about the minus 20 to minus 30 degree. And the death of microorganisms under the influence of ultraviolet rays is associated with the inactivation of cellular enzymes, with the destruction of the nucleic acids, with the formation in the irradiated environment of the hydrogen peroxide, ozone, and etc. And it should be noted that the most resistance to ultraviolet rays are bacterial spores, the fungal and yeast spores. The colored bacterial cells and the vegetative cells of bacteria are the less stable. And the disease of the microorganisms under the influence of ionizing radiation is caused by radiolysis of water in the cell substrate, in this case free radicals, atomic hydrogen, and the peroxides are formed, which when they interacting with the other cell substance cause a large number of reactions that are not characteristic of the normally living cell. And the inactivation of enzymes, destruction of the membrane structures, and the nuclear apparatus. The radio resistance of the various microorganisms varies greatly, and the microorganisms are significantly more radio resistant than the high organisms. The harmful effects of the ultraviolet and X-rays, which is used in the practice, and the ultraviolet rays is disinfect the air of cold rooms, medical and industrial premises, and the use of bacterial properties of ultraviolet rays in the disinfect water. And we tell about the influence of physical and chemical factors on microorganisms. Humidity. Humidity of the environment has a great impact on the life of microorganisms. Water is part of the cells and maintains the turgor pressure in them. And in addition, nutrients enter the cell only in the dissolved state. Dehydration of the substrate leads to the delay in the environment of microorganisms. When humidity increases, the vital activity of microorganisms is restored. Microorganisms, depending on the ratio of humidity, divided into hydrophytes, xerophytes, and the mesophytes. For most bacteria, the minimum moisture content of the substrate is about 20–30%, and for the fungi, about 11–13%. And then next, osmotic pressure. Osmotic pressure inside the cell of microorganisms is slightly higher than in the medium, and this is a condition for the normal function of the microorganisms. And the microorganisms which call it the halophils are microorganisms that can grow in environments with a high content of table salt. And the moderate halophils develop at the salt concentration of 1–2% and grow well about 10% salt, and can tolerate a salt content about 20%. Extreme halophils do not develop at the salt content below about 15% and can grow you at a salt concentration about 30%. Next, influence of chemical factors of microorganisms. Depending on the relationship to the pH of the medium, microorganisms are divided into the three groups. They are neutrophils, which prefer natural reaction of the environment, and they grow in the pH range from 4 to 9, and the neutrophils include bacteria, including Berkeley bacteria, and second is acidophils. They grow at pH of 4 or lower, and acidophils include lactic acid, acetic acid bacteria, fungi, and yeast. And the third group is the alkalophils. This group includes the microorganisms that grow and develop at pH of 9 or higher. And some microorganisms forming metabolic products and realizing the intermedium are able to change the reaction of the medium. Next, chemical. Many chemicals are harmful to microorganisms. Such substances are called antiseptics, and they affect depends on the concentration and the duration of exposure, as well as on the pH of the medium and the temperature. And the inorganic compounds, heavy metals, salt, it may be gold, copper, and especially silver, act most strongly on microorganisms. For example, silver ions absorbed on the cell surface and causing change into the properties and the function of the cytoplasmatic membrane. Many oxidants, chlorine, iodine, hydrogen peroxide, potassium, manganese acid, and mineral salts, sulfur, boric, hydrogen, fluoride, have a bacterial effects. These substances cause active oxidative process that are not change of the metabolism and also destroy enzymes. And the organic compounds, they are formalin, carbolic acids, alcohol, organic acids, and others can also have a detrimental effect for the microorganisms. And the next relationship between microorganism effect of antibiotics on microorganisms. Antibiotics, in many cases, the destructive effect of microbes. Antagonists is associated with the release of specific biological active chemicals, antibiotics, and the producer of antibiotics are some fungi as well as bacteria, most often the antimycotics, and the nature of the action of antibiotic substance on the cells is diverse. Some of them delay the growth and development of microorganisms. Others cause their death, and in the food industry, only certain antibiotics, maybe nystatin and the diamethrin, allowed to be used to extend the shelf life of food, and only in limited cases, for example, when transporting over long distance, and for raw products, for meat, for fish, and others that are subsequently stored in the cold. And the research is also underway in the use of the special antibiotic, usine, which is not used as a medicine, and the low-length producer lactic acid streptococci, and the usine is a inhibitors for the growth of staphylococci, many streptococcus, and the anaerobic heat-resistant spore bacteria of the genus Clostridium. And thank you for your attention. If you have questions, please ask. Если есть вопросы, можете задавать.
А нам за этот семестр тоже нужно только 3 СРСП сдать?
Нет, СРСП в виде презентации, только не 3, а 2. И отправлять желательно через универсистему.
А какой срок вы даете на СРСП?
За второй семестр до конца выдержки.
Хорошо.
Я сейчас вам слайд отправлю в чат, хорошо? Если не успели, можете дописать, потом тетради обязательно я буду проверять.
Извините,
Хорошо.
сколько должно быть слайдов в одной презентации?
От 10 и больше.
Хорошо, спасибо.
Вам тоже спасибо.
Спасибо.
До свидания.
До свидания.
До свидания.
Сабақ бітті ма?